Welcome to the Daughter Arise channel. My name is Yvonne and this channel is all about bringing you content to do with childhood sexual abuse. On this channel I share things to do with my experience of going through this childhood trauma. I also cover news stories and other things to do with the subject of childhood sexual abuse. I add my thoughts and commentary to these subjects, and also as well I do interview other survivors and their supporters in hopes of raising awareness of this childhood abuse. So if this is the type of content that you're looking for, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified of any new uploads. And if you do like the content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So today guys, I just wanted to hop on here quickly before I go for my bike ride to do a video that I think I should have done ages ago actually. I don't know why I never thought of it, but I was kind of sparked to do this video because earlier this week I was on Premier Christian Radio as part of a panel, and the subject was about looking at the power of sorry. When somebody abuses you, should sorry be enough, or what needs to happen after the person says sorry? So what sparked this kind of interest from Premier Christian Radio was that a Christian singer named Michael Tate, he basically was dropped from his record label because of allegations of sexual assault, basically against 3 men. And what happened is that he admitted as much, that he did sexually assault these men, and owned up to what he says obviously is his wrongdoings and his sin. And really this kind of panel that I was on with Premier Christian Radio was exploring whether sorry is ever enough, and that is what I want to ask you guys today as well. I never got sorry from my dad for what he did to me. As a matter of fact, he never even acknowledged what he did to me. I think that back when I was younger, maybe if he would have acknowledged it and owned up to what he did instead of painting me as a liar, I think I would have been more likely to have possibly accepted his sorry. But I think as I got older, like my late teens, 20s and stuff, it didn't really matter anymore, because coming out the other end now and it not being an influence in my life, the fact that I've been able to work through my issues and forgiven my mum and dad for the things that they did, if he was to come and say sorry now, I would accept his apology. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't even, if he came and said sorry to me now, it wouldn't have any weight or holding on me like when I was younger. If I was younger and he came and did it, I think it probably would have hit me more emotionally. But as I said, coming through the other side now, if he came and said sorry to me, I would accept his apology. And I wouldn't hold what he did against me. Obviously, I would say how it affected my life, but that's the key word, affected. It doesn't affect my life anymore like it used to over those years when I was on my journey to recovering from my experience. And that really is my question to you guys as well. What is your thoughts on sorry? Would you accept sorry from the perpetrator of your abuse? Would that be enough to make you forgive that person, to help you to heal from your experience, to move on from it? Because one of the things I was saying on this panel is that from my experience and from the experience of the many men and women that I have supported since 2010, with all the work I've been doing with Daughter Arise, I would say that for a huge majority of them, I would say for even probably 98% of them, they've never even had a sorry. They've never even had an acknowledgement. And what I was saying on this panel is that in the first place, there needs to be an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Acknowledgement of, I did this thing, I abused you, sexually abused you, and I know it was wrong. And then comes the sorry. But as we know from the news and from really just the really lack of news stories about paedophiles owning up to what they've done, we know that they never really acknowledge their wrongdoings. And those who are in the news that we've seen that do acknowledge their wrongdoings, is because they got caught in some way, shape or form, whether that has been through their internet searches, through being caught in the act, through some way where they couldn't get out of it and were caught bang to rights. But voluntarily, paedophiles, child sex offenders never just own up and say, this is what I've done, I acknowledge it's wrong, and I'm sorry. I think that in order for a sorry to be authentic, obviously we don't know the hearts of man, only God knows the motivations of people's hearts and whether they're really truly repentant and sorry for the things that they've done. But outwardly looking on a sorry, it should first of all be a thing of acknowledging the devastation that the perpetrator has had on that person's life, what they did to them as a child, owning up to it and accepting that what they've done has had a real terrible impact. Because one of the things I did note from the story with this singer is that whilst he did own up to his wrongdoings and admitted that he's done wrong in the eyes of God and done terrible things to these three men, he kind of put a pivot on his apology by saying, well, even though I am sorry for what I've done, some details, it wasn't to that extent or something like that, which to me is making his sorry invalidated. Because if you're going to own up and say that you've done this wrongdoing, you sexually assaulted these three men, you're sorry, you just say sorry. You can't interpret or dictate to them how they have perceived your behaviour. You may have it in one hand that, oh, it was just this thing I've did, but to them it has been a traumatic thing and they've received what you have done to them in this way. So that's got me kind of umming and ahhing about the kind of authenticity of his sorry. Because if you're sorry, you acknowledge you've done wrong, you're sorry, and wherever the chips may fall, however the victim has taken it, that's how they've taken it. You can't then try and manipulate that. That is not within your power. After the acknowledgement, after the sorry, it's then up to the victim, the survivor, to have that power whether to accept it or not. Just because you're sorry as a perpetrator doesn't mean that the victim has to accept your sorry. They may never accept your sorry. That has to be a process that they go through. And it's up to them whether they will accept that or not. Also as well, in a sorry, if a sexual crime has been committed, like childhood sexual abuse, and you've owned up to it, then justice needs to be served. I never got any sorry, any acknowledgement, any justice in what my dad did to me, even though there was physical and psychological evidence. The CPS said whilst they acknowledged that was all there, without the evidence of the room, which him and my family, my mum and my gran helped him to get rid of, they could not take the case forward and secure prosecution. I think that if somebody is sorry and they want to put right their wrongs, there should be a sense of justice through the justice system. That may involve that person being arrested, interviewed, confessing to what they have done, going through the court system and being sentenced for the crime. So for me, all these things make up a truly heartfelt sorry. One of the things that doesn't happen a lot, which is what one of the other panel members was talking about within the church, is that there isn't this full sense of justice. I've talked about this a lot of the time on this channel with survivors I've supported who were abused within the church. They like to deal with their justice in-house. They like to deal with it in their own way, and that to me is not good enough. There shouldn't be this thing where you can deal with the abuse of one of your church singers, a member of your church staff in-house. All abuse needs to go through the proper channels, which includes the police and the justice system. We see this often with the Catholic Church as well, the cover-ups, them dealing with things in-house, and that's not real justice for the victims. Now, do I think sorry is an integral part of the healing process for a survivor of childhood sexual abuse? From my experience, and for those that I know that have been through it, I would say acknowledgement is the biggest thing that myself and other survivors would always be looking for. I didn't get any of that. And has it been kind of a stumbling block to my kind of healing process? No. Because for me, my motivations to heal from my childhood abuse wasn't motivated or dependent upon whether my dad said sorry or not. It was dependent upon me. I got to a stage in my journey after going through terrible mental health issues and everything else that comes along with the experience of childhood sexual abuse. I got to a point where I wanted to heal for myself. I wanted to face my own abuse for myself, and however that journey unfolded, I decided that I would go through that journey, even though it took a long time for me to go through it, because I had times when I regressed back because of things, went through depression and all that type of stuff. His sorry, my dad's sorry, didn't have an effect on that. It didn't have an impact on my healing journey. At the beginning, really, I would have loved for my father to acknowledge what he'd done to me and gone through all the kind of processes that I've talked about that for me makes up a truly heartfelt sorry, but it didn't happen. So I made a decision to get on with my life and focus on me, because after so many years of having childhood sexual abuse affect my life, I had become quite fed up really with how it was just still affecting my life, and I wanted to reclaim back my life, and that's what I did. But I'm going to leave the comments open on this video. I don't usually do this because of the sensitive nature of the channel and the subjects that I talk about, but I'm going to leave the comments open. I would love to know from you guys, if you have been through childhood sexual abuse or sexual assault or whatever it is that you have gone through, would it be enough for the perpetrator of your abuse to say sorry? Would you be okay with that? Would that help your healing journey? Or what else would help you from your perpetrator? What else would you need to hear from them in order to move forward? Or it doesn't matter whether they say it or not, you are moving forward anyway. I would love to know, because I think that this is something that is not talked about enough. Does it really matter now whether they say sorry or not? Is it too late? The damage is done? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. So that is it for this video. Until the next one, take care.